That is my greatest asset, is intuition. My intuition will tell me exactly what's blocking. I hone that to where I could just feel it in my body. Now, everyone has intuition, but most people don't have the foundation to act on it. And we always kick ourselves, I wish I listened to my gut instinct. I wish I listened to my intuition. It would be a lot easier. Say you get intuition to invest in something. Ask another question. Is the time now or is the time in the future? Because your intuition might say yes, but it might be for next year, not now. Yeah. So adding that little extra question on the timing will really help you to keep flowing forward. How can we build a foundation so that they're not getting taken from, they're able to give freely, or they're not being abused? How can we build up their foundation so they can love themselves more? So they can give who they are to the world, express your authentic self to the world, share your unique abilities with the world. And that's where things start flowing.
Hey everybody, it's Reagan Archibald, your host of Unreasonable Health. And today I've got my friend Daniel White, and you're going to enjoy this because Daniel's been somebody who has this unique gift of removing the barriers that keep you from becoming your best self, both financially, as a business owner, if you happen to be one, or an entrepreneur, or even if you're looking to just take your life to the next level. Daniel, he's been consulting since 1994. I met him at Strategic Coach because, Daniel, you're there every time, and you're just clearing the field for Dan so that Dan Sullivan can just thrive. I mean, tell us what you do for Dan. And by the way, welcome to the show. It's so good to have you.
Thanks, Reagan.
I'll finish your bio as we go, but I think this will be an easier way for people to get to know you.
Perfect. So Dan and I have been working together for 18 years, and it's really funny how it started. I was in Australia and I was looking to go to Toronto to do some work, to do actually a real estate conference. And I thought, well, why don't I mix a bit of work with pleasure, right? So I thought I'd put the feelers out if anyone knows anyone in Toronto that would like my services. And I got in contact with Shannon Waller and Julia Waller. And I heard they ran some entrepreneurial company, training company. I thought, oh, great, right up my alley. So I got in contact with them. I did a session for Julia, and I did a house clearing for Shannon because she, and for those that don't know, they're sisters who have been with Coach for years, 25,
decades.
30 years. Yeah. And so what happened was, so I did a clearing for Shannon's house because she wasn't feeling really like it was her home. And that's one of my actual unique abilities, is going into spaces and removing old energy that's influencing a space. And in her case, her house was built on an old race course. So there's a lot of energy from the old racing days when it used to be a race course and the stables and everything. Julie, on the other hand, came in for a personal cleanse where I worked really deep on removing anything that's holding her back from moving forward in her life. So that's how it started. 2 days later, Julia goes to the office, and Dan Sullivan, Babs Smith saw her and said, what happened to you? Like immediately they knew something was different about her. And they said, well, I met this guy. And they go, oh, and they say, no, not like that. He was a clearer, energy clearer, a spiritual healer. She didn't know how to describe what I did. So they were like curious because they could see she was completely different. They'd known her for years, and then it was a complete transformation. And so they reached out to me. Oh, first Babs says, does he do companies? And Julia's like, I don't know, I'll ask. So yes, of course I do companies. Well, we lost. And so they reached out. I happened to be flying through Chicago, met Dan and Babs, did work on their house and also on both of them. And 2 days later, they reached out and said, we want to do more. Dan had such a profound shift, he couldn't deny it, and he wanted to know more. So I flew up to Toronto, did some work with them personally, worked on their properties, and then Dan said, can you come back again in a quarter? So I said, sure, I'll come back. I was always traveling around the world with my work. I come back in a quarter. He has another session. And then this is the funny story. So, and you know Dan. So he
Oh,
goes,
yeah.
okay, so this is how it's going to work. We'll work together for 40 years, and then we'll assess our progress. And
You gave
at
me
the
40,
time, I was
not
only
25. It was 40 years for
40
you.
years. And at the
You got
time,
an
I was
extra
only
15.
I was 39 years old, so I didn't know what 40 years was. So I said, oh, well, let's try it for a little while and see how it goes. And it took me 2 years to commit to the 40 years. And now we're 18 years in. We started out quarterly sessions, and now we work twice a month. And like you said, I'm sitting in the back of the room in some of his high-level workshops so that I can see how the energy flows and how can we improve his performance? How can we improve the energy in the room to make it even the best that it can be? So constantly I'm looking and checking the energy in the space to make sure we're getting the maximum benefit for the clients so they get an amazing, and you know what it's like in that room. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, powerful.
Phenomenal. So, and I love it. Anywhere we can grow, whether it's business or sports or personal relationships, I'm there. I just love to help people transform any blockages they have going forward. So that's how it began.
How cool is that? And I mean, you've worked with people in 40 different countries, and it sounds like the thing you do, which is interesting, is you remove the energetic blockages that that prevent us from enjoying the abundance that's available. I mean, that's the real thing is helping people receive what's there. Financial freedom is a big one, and then creating a bigger future for themselves, their families, their businesses. So maybe let's talk a little bit about your work that you did. You were in Australia and studied there in Perth, and then came to Arizona. But I do want to talk about the one thing that's very unique is the fact that you broke the 4-minute mile in a time where, I mean, now it's pretty normal, but tell us about that just a little bit, and just so people can have a glimpse into who you are.
Well, actually, that's great because that'll lead into why I'm doing this work now. So since I was 8 years old, I love to run. I love to enjoy sports. And I was just an average runner. Most of the time I came last. And then something happened in my late teens, and I had this guy come up to me and says, do you want some help coaching? And he coached me, and he took me from ninth in the state where I lived in Australia to sixth in the nation in less than 3 months. It was phenomenal just by coaching. And it was like, okay, so then from there, what do I do with this? So I started looking, can I get better? I love to grow. I love to transform our limitations and get better. And I just kept exploring. And then I was offered a trip to come to the US for a 2-week training racing experience. I came over for 2 weeks and ended up staying for 6 years. I got offered so many scholarships from my racing and I ended up in Arizona in Flagstaff in Northern Arizona University and loved it. And that's where I trained and was able to work with some phenomenal world-class athletes. I just had a knack to work with the best of the best. And they helped me, and I ended up getting number 2 in the world at one stage, which was phenomenal in the mile. And then what happened was I was getting ready for the Olympics in 1992, and I got injured a week before the Olympic trials. And it was like a career-ending injury. And it was like, and it was so freak. My Achilles went, and it was like, what happened? So that accident or that experience sent me on this path of searching what happened. How can I fix this? What can I do to get better? And this took me into the realm of kinesiology, which is the mind-body connection, how the muscles work with the physical body and our mental attitudes and how it affects us and our performance. And then I started, let me try this for a year and see how it goes. So I graduated from college, spent a year researching kinesiology and started to work with clients. That was 30 years ago. I'd never stopped. And then I got into more of the spiritual. I've always talked to God. I always talk, okay, God, what can I do next? What can I do this? So God's always like guiding me. So when I'm working with my clients, it's the same thing. How can I help this person? What's the best I can do for them to help them in their life and their journey? And God always tells me what to do, and I just follow it. And that's it.
Wow. So you're coaching, originally it was just like running and you obviously you're very skilled at it. Number two in the world in the mile is amazing. I bet the number one dude and the number three were super stoked that your Achilles got injured.
Yeah, well, I was blessed that for that year. I was blessed to be there. It was like I didn't know until later that this had happened, and the coach was like jumping up. What are you going on about? It's just a run, and yeah, so that's where it all began. It was pretty cool. It was a good experience, but
Man.
that experience of training to that level, I was able to transfer into business. I have
Mm.
always had a passion for business. I love business and growth. And I love being an entrepreneur. So I was able to transfer all that wisdom and knowledge from my athletic career into business to help people to excel, to be gold medalists in their own business, right? So,
Got it. Well, and
and mixing the spiritual with the physical, spiritual with business, spiritual with sport. How can we help to really access our authentic self to be our maximum and reach our maximum potential?
yeah. And how cool is that? Because, one of the things that coaches do is they help us avoid mistakes that everybody else has made. They help us see things that we can't see, the forest, you can't see the forest through the trees. Tell me about, what is it like, to do your work? Because it takes there's got to be some intuition there to recognize what's going on, but how did you cultivate this skill and how do you understand like where these blockages are? And by the way, just like you run a really fast mile, you and I, when we were talking at Coach last time, you're like, I can remove massive blockages in like 6 minutes, or some
Less.
ridiculous thing. Something that's been holding someone back their whole life, but let's talk about what happens underneath it all, because this is not like like a tarot card reading or some kind of like a clairvoyant thing. It seems like there's a little more science with some intuition. But yeah, let's dive in.
So with the timing part, because of being an athlete, you always want to improve and get better. And very early in my career, I had a client in Los Angeles, and after the session, she looked at me and said, "Do you know I just spent 10 years in therapy on this problem, and you just got rid of it in an hour?" And I was a young kid, so I'm thinking, 10 years, why would anyone spend 10 years on a problem? And so it gave me this drive. I said, I want to get to 10 minutes. That was the goal, right? If I can
Okay.
do it in an hour, let's see if I can improve to 10
Why
minutes.
not? Yep.
And it took me about 15 to 20 years to get to 10 minutes, but I got there. And now it's gone beyond that. So it's a lot faster. But it was like such a driving force, that goal. Can I remove something from someone's life completely in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And when you hit the nail on the head with the intuition, that is my greatest asset, is intuition. And I'll walk into a room, or I'll working with a person. My intuition will tell me exactly what's blocking, what's wrong. And I used to be really fanatical on trying to develop my intuition. So I would actually create this in my healing space where my clients would come. I'd create it so it was so perfect that when the person walked in the door, everything that was wrong stood out. It was like, bing, like illuminated. And then I honed that to where I could just feel it in my body. Now, everyone has intuition, but most people don't have the foundation to act on it. And we always kick ourselves. I wish I listened to my gut instinct. I wish I listened to my intuition. It would be a lot easier.
Yep.
Intuition is God talking to you. That's it. So we're always talking to God, asking for help. God answers us through our intuition. He wants us to have a great life, all right? And when we go and hit our head against the wall because we're not listening to our intuition, we're always creating our own blocks. I want to help people to feel. And so I learned to do it for myself. When I walk into a space, what's holding the business from going forward? And it could be from a previous, like Shannon's house. The previous occupant of the property is influencing the present company. Like if there was a bankruptcy in the building, or there was one incident where one side of this wall in the office, people were always getting headaches. And we did the clearing and then the headaches went away, and we did some research and we found out there used to be an old, where the lines from the stock markets overseas would come in that wall in the 60s, and the energy was still there. The lines were gone, but the energy was still in the space from 40 years before. So as soon as we removed, and that was causing headaches for people who sat in those seats. As soon as we removed that energy, boom, there was no more headaches because it was old energy influencing the present. And it's the same with our bodies. If we have an old belief structure or an old habit or an addiction that's holding us back, we may not know because it's so natural for us to always do it. I can feel that and remove it, and suddenly the people are free.
Okay, so yours is, it starts with more of a feeling then.
Yes.
And where do you feel it?
In my body, it can be in my physical body, it can be in my head, it can in the muscles tightening, it can be dizziness. Like I'll walk into a space or walk into a person, I'm reading with my body what's happening to them. Basically, God's just telling me this is what's happening. And as soon as I thank my intuition, this is something for your listeners. As soon as you get your intuition, you thank your intuition, thank you, my intuition, for showing me, it immediately leaves you because it's not yours. But a lot of people get blocked because they feel something and then they go into trying to fix the problem when it's not even theirs at all. It's just their intuition guiding them of what's happening in their life. As soon as you say, thank you, my intuition, for showing me, it leaves. And then you can go, okay, what do I need to do to help this person or get this problem solved? Then you've got your energy to be able to move forward instead of being stuck trying to fix something that's not even yours at all.
Got it. Okay, that's fascinating because the intuition that you're experiencing, that's, you mentioned it's God talking to you. I love when we go to coach, Dan's got that quote, your eyes only see and your ears only hear what your brain's looking for.
Yeah.
And, I've had some of my mentors tell me, intuition is your brain telling you what's most important. And, it's basically your body says, yes, that's the most important thing. And so you focus on that.
Well, what's interesting is there's cells in your heart, brain cells in your heart. And so it's not actually coming from your head, it's coming below the neck in your heart. That's why you feel it in your body. So your heart's sending the message to your brain with the vision or the intuition, like the answers. So it's actually coming from your heart. Whereas the mind, we can create all sorts of stories with our fantasies and our imagination and so forth, but it's nothing to do with below the neck. And we need to get below the neck to get the results that we want to move forward. And sometimes you could have this brilliant idea, I'm going to go this way with the business or with my personal life, with my family. And if you stop and drop below the neck, how does my body feel about this? Your body's going to tell you the truth. It can be really exciting. We're going to go down this path. We're going to build this business in this way. And then when you check below the neck, it's like, ooh, the body's seizing. And that's your intuition guiding you. Don't do it. Adjust it a little bit. See what feels right. So you use your mind and your visualization to see where you'd like to go, and then check below the neck to see if it's appropriate for your flow or your path.
Got it. It's almost like, you can almost put impact filter strategy circle together and then be like, okay, what did I miss? What am I not aware of? And then it connects. So how does someone cultivate that muscle for intuition?
So, we talk about who, not how, right? In strategic. One of my best, when I would work a lot with real estate developers, the best teams were the husband and wife, where the husband would analyze all the, say, 5 or 6 properties and get the best deals that would work. And the wife would use the intuition to say yes or no on each deal. So it was that teamwork together. Now, sometimes we don't have that teamwork, so we've got to do it ourselves. So you do the analysis with your mind. You look at is this going to be a profitable venture? This exploration is going to be profitable? Is it going to be good for the business, good for the growth? And then we check we just drop below the neck, whether you put your hands on your heart or your waist or something, and just when you think of it, how does my body feel? Does it feel strong? Does it feel like you can't feel anything? It's just all hype, which is
Yeah.
definitely, you don't want that. Or does it feel like I just start breathing? And if you start breathing when you're thinking of it, that's a good move because that
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
So, and I use this, I teach people this about food. You pick up some food, I start breathing. Oh, this is good for my body right now. Or a
Yeah. Oh,
supplement.
interesting.
Or you're checking, is my body, rather than the mind will give you the scientific explanation of what's going to work and not work. Then you check your body below the neck. Is this good for me in my journey? And
Yeah.
this is a brilliant combination to put the two together, because then suddenly you're like, oh, I want more of this because I just feel alive with it. It's not a mental thing.
Got it. Oh, fascinating. And one thing you said, okay, you thank God if when you get the intuition, and then, but if you have a problem you're wrestling with, you want to, set in with it, picture the outcome. If you're breathing normal, that's probably a good sign. That's like one of
Yes.
the things you want to look for. But also, you can feel it in your body, and that's fascinating because what you've done is not only have you helped like businesses grow incredibly fast, or maybe grown in it and said, don't grow, you're not ready yet, or oh, I'm not sure, but I know you've helped people really unlock some of their major things around business and personal growth. But tell me about your the work you've done with people with finances and freedom of money, and because I know you struggled with your own
Yes.
journey on that. I have as well. I'm sure many people on our show, but maybe you could touch on that aspect a little bit if you don't mind, Daniel.
Yeah, sure. So, and one thing I'll just go back. If you thank your intuition and the energy is still with you, it's your issue. You have to deal with it. But if you thank your intuition and it leaves you, it wasn't your issue. So you can,
Oh, okay, got it. So you can differentiate between, was that mine or
yes,
somebody
yes.
else's? Okay.
So what happened when I was building my business in the beginning, of course, we all go through this when we're starting out. We're just investing, trying to build the business. And I was just like struggling. I was like constantly in debt in all these problems. I said, okay, I need help here. So I say, okay, God, how can I help myself to get out of this constant state of debt, constant struggle with the finances? And God immediately showed me through my intuition the airline drill: put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you help others, right? That was the answer. I go, okay. And then I realized I've been paying all the bills of others before I pay myself. So I was constantly in this state of giving, but not receiving.
Got
And
it.
so I had to flip it and work on receiving first before I gave. Pay
Mm,
yourself first before you help others. So then I had to get really using my intuition. Well, how much do I pay myself? Is it a percentage? Is it a dollar amount? What is it? And so I had to learn, and this is what I talk about in the book, The Financial Freedom System, is this step-by-step process to build this foundation in our bodies using money as a tool
mhm.
to transform ourselves. So when we go to invest or we go to spend money or receive money, we feel if it's right or not. But if
Mm,
you have stress, there's no way you can feel. You're just stressed. So we're building this process with the financial freedom system is to build this foundation in yourself so that money is just a tool for life and for growth. And you'll know when to receive money or spend money or invest money. You just feel it. And a great example, once I was the first time a client offered me 100,000 for a year to work with them. Oh, of course, I'm really excited. This is a huge start. And then I checked my intuition.
yeah.
And my intuition said no. I go, what? Come on, help me out a bit here. And so I checked. And so I started to test how much? So I went from 100,000 down and I got to 65,000. And I go, and then it felt super strong. The body was breathing. I was like, okay, well, I didn't know why, but I
Yeah.
trusted my intuition. So I said to him, thank you for the offer. I can't accept 100,000, but I will accept 65. And he's like, well, okay, like it's great.
Yeah.
It turns out his industry was in the snow removal business.
Yeah.
And that winter was no snow.
Oh,
So if I had taken the 100,000, it would have really hurt his business.
yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
so trust it, and that was 15 years ago. He's still a client because of that. When
Of
you
course.
trust your intuition, you grow and you grow
Yeah.
with people. And that was an experience where I had to reduce the receiving, not knowing why until it came. And your body will always tell you the truth. Your intuition will always tell you the truth if you trust it. One thing I want to add to that, say you get intuition to invest in something. This is what I want to tell your listeners. Ask another question. Is the time now or is the time in the future? Because
Mm,
your intuition might say yes, but it might be for next year, not now. So
yeah.
adding that little extra question on the timing will really help you to keep flowing forward.
Wow. So, so let's talk about some people you've helped. Like, maybe you could share some stories. And by the way, one of the things that Daniel has been generous enough to offer to each one of you is his report, the Financial Freedom System, and he'll take you through the 7-step system report. Go to danielwhitecoaching.com/report and you can download it for free right there. But which I really appreciate. But maybe you could just talk about, some of the success stories you've had and what people don't realize subconsciously that's holding them back. And when you remove those barriers, what are the results that you've seen?
Sure. Well, I won't reveal names just out of client confidentiality, but I can give you some great stories. One of my favorite stories was a coal mining company in Kentucky. They called me in because there was a small mining company and they couldn't get past the $5 million barrier for revenues. It was what really stuck. And the owner knew the potential of the land. But
Mm,
he's something, and the investors who invested in him were like screaming for their money back. You promised us all this, and where is it? La la, right? So he called me in. I came and did the clearing, and as I'm preparing for the clearing, I'm asking God, how can I help? And I kept getting this message: moonshine, moonshine, moonshine. What? I mean, I know moonshine, it's Kentucky and maybe in the mountains or whatever. But I was
right.
like, okay, that was my intuition. I was like, okay, so I went in and did the clearing. And what happened, I found that and they've been hitting 5 million, like this ceiling for like 5 years in a row. It was like consistent.
Mm,
And I was like, went in there, I was doing the clearing and I found some spirits, some ghosts on the property. And there'd been a mine collapse 20 years before and two people had died. The spirits were still there. And those spirits were trying to reach for help and limiting productivity with the workers. There was always accidents, there was problems being held back because of the spirits on the land. So I cleared those two. And then I was just asking God, what do I do next?
wait,
And he
wait, wait. You just said it so casually. I just cleared them out. Like, did you put them in timeout, or what did you do with the spirits?
So I sent him to God. I'm a
Okay,
Ghostbuster, if you like.
you had a conversation with them, and
I helped them. I said, we're going to get you to the light. So I opened the door. I have this process where I open the door, which is like a direct, in the movies, they have this tunnel of light where people die and they go, it's like that. So I open the door and help them through. And they rush. They love it because they're free. They've been stuck.
oh man,
It's
wow,
really awesome. So did that. And then I was instructed so yeah, I do a lot of ghost busting in my work. Uh,
cool.
so
Okay, good. You said it so casually. Some of us don't do that kind of work, by the way. I don't talk to go. I mean,
yeah. So I That reminds me of another ghost story I'll tell you next. So, and then I was instructed to, there was a main road that went through the center of the property. I had to clean the road. And it was really weird. Why would I do this? So we're sitting in the office afterwards and discussing, and people were driving down the road and stopping. And just like we'd see them in their car, just like looking around like they were lost. I was like, what's going on here? Anyway, 1 week later, I found out what moonshine meant. There was a meth lab up on the property. People were producing meth, and that was the moonshine. But God couldn't tell me meth. He just showed me illegal substance.
Oh, wow.
And from that point, so they've been struggling for all these years. The next year, $32 million revenue. So from 5 to 32 and cleaned everything up.
So the meth lab, like were the workers? I mean, tell me how the meth lab was impacting.
Because it was such a small operation, people were just using, it was out in the woods, right?
Right,
and they set this up and they were using that road to transport in and out the meth.
Oh, and that was like blocking production or just the
the negative energy on the property was also interfering, and that was blocking for revenues and productivity.
So did you get did the police come in, shut down the operation?
Yep, that's it. And the owner calls me, the guy who owned the whole, he goes, "You won't believe what they found. There's your answer for the moonshine." And they've discovered this meth lab. So these sort of things get exposed once the clearing happens on the property. Anything that's holding a business back will be removed.
Wow.
And the other great ghost story I love, I'd heard clients had this huge, beautiful property in Sydney overlooking the harbour. It was beautiful, but they're trying to sell and it wouldn't sell. Every time someone came to buy the house, to look at the house to buy, it was like, it's nice, but it's not for me. Anyway, they called me in. And this is the first time I actually saw a ghost with my eyes open. Normally I see them with my eyes closed. I can see them moving across the room. But this time I opened the door and he walked right in front of me. I'm like, what? He wasn't a bad ghost. He was just stuck. And he'd come with someone to a party at the house. It was a beautiful mansion. Come to the party and liked the family and decided to stay. So what was happening is every time someone came to buy the house, he was whispering in their ear, "Oh, you don't really like this house. It's not for you." So everyone was like, "Oh, it's beautiful, but it's not for me." So he was talking the buyers out of buying the house. And this went on for 9 months. They couldn't sell it. It was beautiful. They tried everything you could think of to, make it work. Nothing worked. As soon as I removed that ghost, it sold 12 hours later. Like that. Next person walked in, bought the house because it was a perfect deal, but he was talking the people out of buying the house because he didn't want the family to leave. He didn't.
He liked them.
Yeah. So that was a great story. It was like, wow, that's cool. So this is where I can help people in real estate who are blocked on sales and so forth.
Wow, fascinating. So this skill set, I mean, it's your unique ability, but do you train others on how to cultivate the skill, or is it just you're there all the time, helping unblock it? Like, there's probably a reason Dan wants you to work with him for 40 years is because
keeps him growing.
This is something I can't do on my own. But do you see it as a trainable skill, or is this pretty exclusive to Daniel White?
The part that I love to train is helping people to hone their intuition and also to build the foundation in themselves so they have the power to act on the intuition, because everyone has the intuition, but most of the time we don't have the power to act on it, to take action. And so I train people to build their energy up in themselves so that they can take action. And the first part with the finances is how to build the financial foundation so they can have the freedom to take action, to follow intuition, so everything flows with them. And then it might be in relationships. How can we build a foundation so that they're not getting taken from, they're able to give freely, or they're not being abused? How can we build up their foundation so they can love themselves more, so they can give who they are to the world, express your authentic self to the world, share your unique abilities with the world. And that's where things start flowing. And same with businesses. It's like, where do we build the foundation for the business? It's funny, when I teach a business, the members of the team how to do their own financial foundation, the whole business just takes off because they're building this foundation within themselves. So they're making better decisions. Their financial stresses disappear with the foundation account. And it's like, oh, I'm able to move forward. Some of the stories with the foundation account, people who've lost weight from the foundation account, people who couldn't get in relationships. Suddenly, there was one guy who's great. He tried for years to get married. He wanted to have a family, get married, but no women. He had a very successful business, but women just weren't interested in him. What was happening, he didn't have a foundation in himself, so that when a woman came and saw the numbers, they couldn't feel the foundation, so they weren't interested. As soon as he started building his foundation, he's married with a family. It's fantastic. Another client who was so wealthy he could buy airplanes with his pocket change, he needed help. And so I said, you got to start doing this foundation. And it was like $14 a week, $15 a week. It was nothing. I was like, it wasn't about the money. But we started the process through the financial freedom system, and suddenly his stress went away and he became even more successful. And the reason was he was given the company. He inherited the company. He didn't build it himself. So he didn't have when you're an entrepreneur and you're building the foundation for yourself, you look at these young kids coming in, they think they're entitled to everything, and they fail because they didn't build it. They didn't build the foundation. So the financial freedom system helps individuals to build their own foundation so that they can grow. And so when you have all the members of the team building their own foundations, suddenly the whole company grows. It's really cool.
Fascinating.
So, yeah.
So in your work, do you do any one-on-ones now, or do you just work with groups and businesses? What's it like to work with you?
I have some occasions for one-on-ones, but I was booked out for this year since April. And because I can only work so many hours a month, it's very taxing on my physical body. And I also do group clearings, and where I just go in and say a company will get me in because they've got a certain block in the company they want to improve. So I'll work on removing that block for the whole group, the whole team. So this whole company moves forward. Or with a family, there's a family issue, working with the whole family to move forward. And then I'm starting groups starting this year and into next year where people can just come in once a month and do a clearing on a certain subject, or just get a clearing as part of the group. I call it a group transformation session. So the whole group transforms together. So that's how I do it so very little one-on-one. It's very rare to get in, hard to get in.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Well, man, this has been so fascinating. And I think now more than ever, I mean, for people to have a strong foundation, like especially when it comes to like your financial freedom, the system you created. I mean, your book, The Financial Freedom System, is a bestseller on Amazon. And so I think your timing probably couldn't have been better. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? You know, it's 2024 now. And so a lot of changes going on. But what's the best way for people to connect with you, Daniel? And I know you've given them that report, and we'll include the links in the show notes. But is Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn? We'll provide those handles. Which one do you use the most?
Probably people going straight to the website, danielwhitecoaching.com. Very simple.
Easy.
And just start from there and then explore from there within the website what does their intuition tell them to go to, right? What feels right for them? Where do they need to go to get help in the website? And that's probably the easiest way. And I'll throw up in the Instagram, I'll throw up videos every so often with little tidbits like we're doing today, things that can help people along the way. And then there'll be announcement on the website if I'm having upcoming workshops or group meditations or group healings, so forth. So that's probably the best.
Well, man, this has been an honor, and we've had conversations over the years, and today was great because we were able to go deeper. Thanks for all you shared and for the great work you do. Any final words of wisdom you want to share with the audience before we depart?
When you're excited about something, drop below the neck and check your body. Because a lot of times we can be above the neck, get excited about ideas, and especially the quick starts, right? And it's like, wow. But just drop below the neck and just, how does my body feel with this? So you visualize what you want to achieve. Does my body feel relaxed? Does it feel tight? Am I breathing? So this is the biggest thing that people can practice to develop their intuition. Build up, finding out, what is my body telling me? My mind will tell me everything at once, right? But what is my body? Your body will tell you the truth. And just drop below the neck and just feel your body, and that'll help you a lot. So you practice that and you build up that knowing, and it's fantastic.
Wow. Well, timeless wisdom there, and I appreciate that insight. And so for those of you who are ready to get your intuition game on and are ready to take your life to the next level, make sure you grab Daniel's 7-step system free report. And then make sure you find him on his website, danielwhitecoaching.com. So Daniel, thanks so much. And I will see you very soon. And thanks everyone for being part of our community. If you love the show, share it with your friends, family, loved ones. Give us a 5-star review. And Daniel, thanks again.
Welcome. It's great chatting with you.
You too.